I want to congratulate all of you as well as us because it has been 206 days since the national title game was played and the college football season of 2024 finished up. Now we are staring down the barrel of week 0 being here. The next time we do a show, it'll be game week. This is the last, quote-unquote, off-season episode of the Hard Count for the 2025 off-season. We're talking about 2025 college football season about to happen. Welcome in. It is Thursday, August 14th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet. Going to make it a great one today. We got intel galore. We'll get to that. But the big question I want us to ask and answer during this show, who's got the highest stakes this upcoming college football season? We'll do that in a matter of moments, though. Intel on the front end. Let's go out to Ann Arbor to get things on and popping. Bryce Underwood is going to be your starting quarterback game 1. Now, that's not going to be announced until the Monday of the week 1 press conference for Sharon Moore. I'm speaking semi-authoritatively here. There's no decision being made, but everyone close to Ann Arbor tells you the same thing. It's Bryce Underwood. And it's not just a thing of you're saying it's going to be Bryce Underwood. What I'm being told is Bryce Underwood is taking all the first-team reps. And on top of that, there's nobody else that's really pushing him within those, other reps that are being taken. Even if other guys are getting reps with the ones, it's pretty much Bryce Underwood's role to go with the ones, if that makes sense. A couple of ways to look at this. You can see this whole thing glass half empty and say, well, JD, guy's 17, going to be 18 next week. Are we sure we don't want him to have a little bit more pressure behind him? We don't want someone else kind of pushing that quarterback room and helping Bryce Underwood progress. I hear you. I understand. That's valid. Us on this show, we are, if nothing else, a glass half full kind of show. The way that I'm looking at this thing, if I got a quarterback who's never played a down of college football, I'm counting on to start for us in 2025 and start for us with a pretty navigable path, pretty big opportunity for this roster to go make the college football playoff, I want him getting as much reps as possible with the ones. He got bowl practice. It was just him and Jaden Davis during spring ball. He's getting the bulk of the ones right now during fall camp. I love the way it's shaping up. So when it comes to being as ready as possible, I like the way this whole thing is trending for a one Bryce Underwood. Now, the O-line is intriguing. Intriguing, not really the words you want to have describing your O-line. They feel pretty settled at 3 of the 5 positions. Tackle's the big question mark. Now, Andrew Babaloa, stud true freshman, could be the guy that ends up fitting in there for you. We'll see what happens. It's not the same vibe, though, around the offensive line as it was previously. Because think about those old Michigan teams with Jim Harbaugh and Blake Corum. It's like, hey, if anything else, if we can't throw the football 5 yards downfield, that's fine. We're going to absolutely abuse you running the football. That's not the same outfit when it comes to how confident they are on the offensive line, but I do have 2 other votes of confidence as we're in the time of confidence and hopium and all that during fall camp. I have 2 reasons for optimism for you if you're a Michigan fan when it comes to the O-line. The first of which being, look at who your head coach is. It's Sharon Moore. We say it a lot. I trust head coaches just to do what they do when it comes to the side of the ball or the position group they specialize in. Sharon Moore comes from the offensive line, was an offensive lineman. I think that if there was a person you are trusting to get that position group right in all of America, Sharon Moore is probably near the top of that list. Second cause for optimism, we've talked about this a couple of times. Bryce Underwood is not your average true freshman quarterback. Bryce Underwood is not your average quarterback in college football to begin with his skill set. I keep saying this, but I feel like I need to just beat this horse till it's beyond dead and in the grave. 6'3", 6'4", 230, 240-ish in that ballpark, throwing down backflips. You can run the ball. You can call the read option game. So I say all that to get to this point. You can, I think, ask less of your offensive line because of who you have at quarterback with saying, hey, we're just going to read that edge defender. Just going to read that Sam linebacker. We're not going to ask you to block them. You go up and work to the second level, and you're in a good spot there when it comes to the offensive line. So all that's to say, cause for optimism on the offensive line. They feel better about that group from the end of spring ball into fall camp right now. Optimism, it's a good thing right now. Donovan McCulley is separating himself right now as the true wide receiver 1 for Michigan. If that name sounds somewhat familiar and you're a Michigan fan, why do I know that name? He was at Indiana previously, transfers to Michigan, and got there in the spring, and he's now wearing the jersey number 1. Now, if you're a Michigan fan, you know why that's a big deal. If you don't, let me give you a little bit of a quick background on this. You don't get to wear the number 1 at wide receiver for Michigan unless you have earned it. So Donovan McCulley shows up at Michigan. He wants to be number one, and he's wearing 13 during the spring, and they tell him, you have to, what I just said, earn the right to be number one, because a lot of dudes have worn that number. Most recently, Roman Wilson, before you talk about Braylon Edwards and what he was wearing that number. Like, number one's a special number at Michigan for the wide receiver position. So Donovan McCulley, having earned that, speaks volumes to what he's done behind closed doors. Someone that was at the scrimmage over the course of the last scrimmage that Michigan had said he's the, quote, real deal. We'll see what that means. Defensively, they feel real good. And you felt good if you're a Michigan fan about the defense, but just to hear intel that like corroborates that, I feel like it's kind of comforting, if you will, at this point in the year. During the scrimmage, they said offense still kind of gaining their sea legs, work in progress. Defensively, they're like, it was pretty much another day at the office for those guys. Like maybe a year ago with Wink Martindale, there was a little bit more volume and some more communication. It was more just like loud, if you will, when it comes to how that side of the football was operating. What I was told is the defense was pretty much like ho-hum, not a lot of talking, just like they know what they're there to do. It's nothing new for that side of the football. They're going to be in good shape. Defensive line is where you get really excited. They feel like they have truly like 10 to 11 guys that can legitimately play for you on that side of the football. And not just they have, 10 guys in terms of depth. Like they have 10 guys to where they feel like regardless of what unit's out there, whether it's first or second, whatever platoon, there's not a massive drop-off or a difference in watching those groups. Like they think it's the same from ones to the twos, which is huge. Now, one area of borderline concern, I should say, is the cornerback depth. You have guys there, but if you lose a Zeke Berry, God forbid something happened at that position, you don't know that you have as much behind those guys to step up and do what you need them to do to get to the college football playoff. Shamari Earls is a freshman they're excited about. Still a freshman. Don't think you want to ask him to be your go-to guy at corner early on in his career due to injury. But if it happens, it happens, and I'm sure Michigan will respond. But that's just something to keep a pulse on thus far through fall camp. But I think when you talk about where Michigan's at psychologically, we're all talking about the college football playoff. We're all talking about what they should do based on how they finished last year. One thing that got me excited, just from someone who's played college football and been around a lot of teams, they're talking about the acronym TNT, which means today, not tomorrow. I think this part of the year, especially for a team like Michigan that finished as hot as they did, it's very easy to fall into the trap of, well, we look to November, we look to get into December and being a playoff team, and all that is well and good. You should have those goals, but the best teams, the best leadership, make it about the next day. Make it about the process. Make it about the mundane, boring stuff. To hear that's Michigan's acronym they're working with right now doesn't mean anything right now, but that's the correct compass that successful teams have as it pertains to getting to where Michigan wants to go. Let's go out to the Plains. Check out what's going on with the Tigers out there in Auburn, Alabama. Offensively, sounds like they're going to be a little bit more bread and butter as to what Hugh Freeze wants to do. A little less like drop back game, a little bit more RPO game. To put it simply, they're going to shrink that menu for a one Jackson Arnold. And to me, like if I'm an Auburn fan, that's what I've been asking for. We know we got dudes. You're going to hear me just say this over and over again. We know we got dudes. We don't need to out-scheme people at this rate with Auburn. We've worked to have a roster. We've recruited to have a roster of this caliber to where we don't have to, have it dialed up with a bunch of smoke and mirror, sleight of hand, complex scheme. You can have that, and you probably need that to go beat the Georgias and Alabamas of the world, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So to hear at this point during the calendar year that Auburn is shrinking the menu, sticking to the basics, sticking to what works, and their quarterbacks are comfortable with that, awesome. Check that box in terms of what I want to hear out of fall camp right now. Jackson Arnold looks good. He's going to be your starting quarterback. It's not a battle of sorts, which I think is encouraging if you're an Auburn fan. That hasn't become something that has become a storyline with all the good quarterbacks in that room. One thing that sticks out about him during fall camp right now, I'm told they're really impressed and pleased with the fact that he can make different kinds of throws. He can put different touch on the football. He has different pitches, if you will. And in the RPO offense, that is so crucial because those windows are moving and changing and evolving, and the picture you get snap to snap is going to be different. You might have to throw it over a linebacker one snap, might have to fit it in front of a safety the next snap. To be able to have that changeup and that many different kinds of ways to get the football to their playmakers, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. It's a big reason why Peyton Thorne was your guy a year ago. Now, the issue with Peyton Thorne was the decision-making, not the ability to throw the football. So does Jackson Arnold surpass a Peyton Thorne when it comes to decision-making, you would hope shrinking the menu would equip him to do that. Now, I also love the intel just around the quarterback room in general. Like Deuce Knight, when I asked about him to the person I was talking to close to Auburn football, I was told that a little bit inconsistent because the dude's a true freshman, been on campus for 15 practices and whatever they're at right now in fall camp. But if you threw him into a football game tomorrow, you can make some things happen for you. Like I was told he has the best arm talent in that room, which as a guy who was supposed to be just graduating high school a few weeks ago, that means something. So they're encouraged by that. They said Ashton Daniels, in a room full of really good runners, the transfer quarterback from Stanford, is the best runner. So I think if you had to go to a situation where Ashton Daniels was your guy, you feel good about sticking to those design quarterback run kind of game situations. Here's my thing with the quarterback room. I love that you have this much depth for a number of reasons. One, Jackson Arnold, as good as he was as a prospect coming out of high school, there's still some risk and still some unknowns. I don't think that's saying anything super groundbreaking. You're still hoping that Jackson Arnold is closer to what he was as a 5-star prospect out of high school than what he was last year at Oklahoma. That's the bet. But if that bet goes south, you can go to a Deuce Knight, can go to an Ashton Daniels, and feel like you're not just punting on the season, which I think is massive for Auburn. Second thing I love about it, Jackson Arnold, a season ago at Oklahoma, he lost that job to Michael Hawkins Jr., but that was a Jackson Arnold thing. It wasn't like Michael Hawkins Jr. was just pushing him throughout fall camp and, okay, Michael Hawkins Jr., he might make a move on this job here. It was like, no, Jackson Arnold played poorly. They had to make a change, get someone more mobile in there. That was how the whole thing went. I think right now for Jackson Arnold, rent is due every day for him. And he's got the apartment now. Don't get it twisted. Like, it is his spot. But if you're a little bit late on that rent, if you don't have a good couple of weeks, there's someone right behind you that is capable from a talent perspective to push you and then take that job. So what that says to me is competition breeds the best out of everybody. Jackson Arnold being pushed by that room, I think, will give you the best version of a Jackson Arnold. And if it doesn't, then he wasn't the guy for you to begin with. But going down the rabbit hole a little bit there, Jackson Arnold, good returns, quarterback, good returns in general with that room. They really like the offensive line. You're still a little bit wondering what you get at the running back position for Auburn because Jarquez Hunter's not running out that tunnel for you this upcoming season for Auburn. But they feel like, especially when that passing game does get rolling, because I'm not giving you intel on the receiver room. We know what they are. They're freak shows. They're really good. We can bypass that. But when that receiver room does catch their stride this season and you start getting some light boxes, they think that offensive line is going to have a field day. Like, they feel awesome about what they can be up front, which in the SEC, it's pretty common sense. You got to run the football if you want to win at the highest level. So Auburn, they feel good about their chances to do that. Defensively, I was told that like this DB unit, the word that I was given to describe that group is fantastic. You're throwing around fantastic during fall camp. I think you can at least feel confident they're going to be pretty good. Jay Crawford, from what I've been told, is having the best fall camp, not just of any DB or any player on defense for Auburn. He's having the best fall camp of any player at Auburn right now. I've been told there has been 0 witnesses that have seen Jay Crawford allow a completion during one-on-ones. One-on-ones now is designed for the offense to have success. I mean, Cato on the ones and twos, a former DB, he'll tell you, man. Like, you got a full field to work with if you're the offensive side. Myself, as an offensive player, I loved it. I know we're about to eat in one-on-ones because I don't have to worry about a linebacker underneath or a safety over the top. I got to beat my guy, and we're in good shape. Jay Crawford, 0 completions allowed at this point. Against that receiver room? Okay, I'll believe it. The linebackers, not as experienced, but like Hugh Freeze describes them as being a little bit freakish. Okay, a good thing in the SEC. I was told they have 3 dudes that run under sub or that are sub 4.5 40 guys. If Hugh Freeze is talking about the linebackers in this way, to where they're flashing, they're twitchy, they're athletic, and the Auburn offense is built as a whole to try to take advantage of linebackers being flat-footed or out of position, and Hugh Freeze is highlighting the linebackers, that tells me linebackers, fair to assume, making some plays during practice when maybe they're not supposed to be making those plays given their athletic prowess is doing a lot for them. So all this to say, linebackers, you feel good about the overall like personnel there. And then on the defensive side, like they think, or on the defensive line side, they think they got some pretty good depth in the interior. They'll see where they're at when it comes to like top-end talent, but they feel good about depth. The overall like overarching theme I get talking to people close to Auburn is just like elite competition during practice. Like you have different guys winning reps, it feels like, all the time if you're standing on the grass out there in Auburn, Alabama, which I think is maybe a little bit more interesting than what meets the eye. If Keldrick Falk's out there just winning every single rep, it's like, well, one, Keldrick Falk's really good. We already know that together because we watch college football. But if you're having other offensive linemen get the better of him every now, Xavier Chaplin's winning a rep against him, that says, okay, there's true like good on good going on to the point where your roster is elevated to the point where you have what you need in the SEC. You have what you need to compete at the highest level. Now you got to execute, but make no mistake, like this year is high stakes for Auburn because of the fact that you have earned the right to have high stakes, to have pressure because of how well you've recruited, and then also the last 2 years have been a little bit lackluster, to say the least. So more on Auburn later in the show, but that's the intel on the Plains as it stands right now. Let's go out to Athens, Georgia. What's the latest intel out of fall camp for the Georgia Bulldogs? Quick plug. One, subscribe to the On3 YouTube channel. Fall camp, we got all the intel for you, as well as the season about to get rolling, so make sure you're locked in. Dogs HQ is where you need to have a membership if you're a Georgia football fan. Okay, Rusty Mansell, Jake Rowe, doing the Lord's work when it comes to covering Georgia Bulldog football. So get a membership over there, tons of intel, tons of notes over there. I'm just going to pack a couple that they have also mentioned on the site, so a little appetizer for you if you're getting that Dogs HQ membership. The scrimmage that happened in Athens, Georgia, if you're talking about the quarterback play, it wasn't like 110% clean. Both Gunnar Stockton and Ryan Puglisi had interceptions, but it sounds like it was still a decent day for the quarterbacks. Gunnar Stockton's interception was off a receiver's hands, so it was like a tip pass that went up in the air. You kind of go palms up if you're Gunnar Stockton, internally at least. Never on the field you go palms up. Pretty good way, I'm sure, for Kirby Smart to lay into you. But it wasn't the Gunnar Stockton poor decision being made there that led to the interception. I was told Ryan Puglisi had a pretty good day. Just had an interception in the red zone, and y'all that know, man, there's very few things that you can do that will piss a coach off more than throw a pick in the red zone. That's like, forget your helmet's probably one of them on par. Like, not good deal for Ryan Puglisi in that sense, but overall sounds like it's a good day. The bottom line here is Gunnar Stockton's going to be your guy. We're not breaking news there. You're brought in the media days. He's going to be your starting quarterback. Okay, but Ryan Puglisi, we keep hearing about the talent, about the skill set, just young. Like, you wait your turn at Georgia, you'll be in good shape. And Ryan Puglisi seems to be down to wait his turn at Georgia based on everything we've heard about him up to this point in time. The offense made a lot of noise early in camp to stay in that vein. And if I'm a Georgia fan, this is the kind of intel I want to hear. That offense is winning early on in camp. Like Zachariah Branch, got him from the portal. Noah Thomas got him from the portal. The Young Bucks making some plays. We'll talk about those guys more in a second. But like the effort for Georgia, in my mind at least, to get to where they want to go, the hinge point is on the offensive side. If you can guarantee me that Gunnar Stockton is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the SEC, the skill set will be as advertised on the receiver position and the running back position elevates. Like, I don't question the defensive side for Georgia with Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann. Now, was it everything you hoped it would be a year ago? No, but are we really thinking that Georgia 2 years in a row will be below Kirby Smart's standard on that side of the football and have that many injuries they had a year ago? I don't think so. So to hear that Georgia started hot on offense, I think is a good sign. Now, in this scrimmage, I was told that during the week the defense was challenged by Kirby Smart. Pick it up a little bit here. Hey, offense is doing some good things early in camp, winning maybe the first part of camp. Defense, like, where are we at? Responded to that challenge. Says everything I need to know about this defense. It's not going to be a talent thing. Are there question marks during fall camp? For everyone there is. But again, as long as Kirby and Glenn Schumann are in charge and they can respond like this and win a scrimmage like this, I think that says a lot about the way they're trending. So defensively, the note there is challenged early, or challenged to be better than how they were early on in camp. They've responded, doing some good things, and responded in a big way in that scrimmage. They being the folks out there in Athens, they love this group of freshmen, man. Like, you count them up, there's potentially 8 different dudes that could contribute for Georgia this upcoming season as freshmen. Jake Rowe's got a great article about it over on Dogs HQ right now. Bo Walker, we talked about him a ton during the spring. He's pushing to be RB2 out there. Talon Taylor, along with a bunch of other freshman receivers they have. There's an article, like I mentioned, Jake Rowe's article, says that there's folks believe internally Talon Taylor could be one of the best playmakers on that roster. Not the qualifier of one of the top receivers, not the qualifier of one of the top freshmen, like one of the top playmakers. At a place like Georgia, okay, you have my attention. Elijah Griffin, same deal. Dude on the defensive line that they think could contribute for them this year. So for me, like freshman fall camp buzz at a place like Georgia, it's more intriguing because Georgia's not at a point in their roster where they have to play freshmen. Kirby Smart's recruited well enough. They've stockpiled this roster well enough to where you don't need to depend on a bunch of young guys necessarily. Now, Georgia will depend on some less experienced guys, but it's not like Talon Taylor would play because there's an opportunity to play at receiver because you got Noah Thomas, you got Zachariah Branch, you got Dylan Bell. If Talon Taylor gets on the field, he will have earned that, is my main point there. So going back to what I said, buzz around freshman and fall camp, it's kind of like having that like pocket mouthwash in the car. Like you don't want to necessarily like have to use it, but if you need to use it, you're glad it's there. And in the clutch, in a job interview, on a date, whatever it is, like if a little smelly breath, you got the mouthwash there. Good intel out of fall camp so far for the folks out there in Athens, Georgia. And surprise, surprise, Georgia once again is going to be in the mix. So it leads me to the next part of this show. Who's got the most at stake in the 2025 college football season? Now, it's very easy for this segment to drift into like the hot seat lane. Who's got the hottest seat in college? We're not doing that, right? I'm talking about who's got the most at stake, who's got the highest stakes during this 2025 college football season. One of the first teams that jumped out to me when doing this exercise, I think Notre Dame's got a ton at stake. Not because you're questioning Marcus Freeman or you're questioning Notre Dame. To me, it's more so like an opportunity thing. I knew my wife and I had a future together when that second date went real well. You know what I'm saying? Anyone can have a good first date. First date, you're talking about a bunch of things. You're getting to know each other. That's all well and good. That second date, though, you're like, oh, it's got some staying power. I can depend on this. Y'all, if Notre Dame does it again, and when I say does it again, like goes to the college football playoff, makes some noise, if they play for a national title again, they're tier 1 status. Like they will have shown up at the top of the college football mountaintop, just been there, been present in the room enough to where you say, okay, this is not your dad's Notre Dame. And I think maybe more importantly, it becomes a common denominator conversation because new quarterback, new defensive coordinator, bunch of new pieces across the board. What's the common denominator? Marcus Freeman. When you get into that territory, in terms of how your school or how your program is viewed, that's elite territory, especially on the recruiting trail, because who do we talk about now in that common denominator territory? Kirby Smart in Georgia. Nick Saban in Bama for the longest time. I think we're starting to get into that territory when it comes to Dan Lanning in Oregon, and he hasn't accomplished what Marcus Freeman has accomplished, so take of that as you will. There's extra urgency right now because the iron is hot at Notre Dame. You have everyone's attention. Steve Wiltfong, who does a phenomenal job for the Rivals portion of what we do here at On 3, came on this show a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now at this point, and said that college football playoff run, it made Marcus Freeman famous. Like, it would hit very differently if Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame make the playoff again, but like in 3 years. Like, 2 college football playoff appearances in a span of 4 years doesn't really move me quite as much. But if you go back-to-back with all the different pieces at Notre Dame this year, I think it's very, very obvious what's happening at Notre Dame. It's very, very obvious that brand is being redefined. And that's the big part of this, like redefining what Notre Dame is under Marcus Freeman. This is a massive opportunity for that. Because we said this a lot during the playoff run, but like there's this narrative that for a while was associated with Notre Dame. Easy schedule. Maybe they'll make the 4-team playoff. We got 12 teams now that make the playoff for sure with that easy schedule they always have. And then they'll get to the playoff and get boat raced by a team from a conference, by Penn State, by Georgia. Notre Dame beat both those teams in the college football playoff. There's no narrative that you can apply to that at this point because of what you saw happen on the field. There's something indisputable out there. So if Notre Dame does that again, that just turns that up even further, and I think solidifies that as to what Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame are going to be here for years to come. Because when Marcus Freeman starts recruiting, not just like in that top 10 range, but like they're pushing to get into that top 5 range, and I promise you that will happen if Notre Dame keeps winning at the high level that they won out last year. That will happen. Like all bets are off, and Notre Dame is, like I just said, at that point, like a true power in college football. Not a good team, not a playoff contender, like a true power in college football because of how Marcus Freeman has elevated them in the context of that conversation. You know who else has high stakes? And this is probably a hot seat conversation to have, and I hate to have it, but we got to do it. The Florida Gators. You know what's being said right now in Gainesville? Billy Napier, we don't really care about the context anymore. We don't care your schedule super hard. We don't care that you inherited this place with a lack of roster talent. We care about going to win games right now. Like, fudge your context. Excuse my French. Fudge your context, all right? This is a determined relationship kind of year for Florida and Billy Napier. So as I say that, you're like, wow, JD, like, what do they got to get to? 6 wins? 7 wins? There's folks in Gainesville, I don't fall into this category, but there's folks in Gainesville that are like, hey, college football playoff berth or you're fired, Billy Napier. Very rare that I think you actually have that discussion in modern college football. Why do you have that with Florida, though? That's a proud brand. That's a brand also in a power at Florida that's invested quite a bit in this roster, getting to where they are now. There's a reason why Florida has the returning production numbers that they do. To be top 10 in returning production, top 20 in returning production, that costs you something. So if we're going to invest now, we want to see some return on investment if we're Florida. I think the thing that maybe gets overlooked with Florida, as we talk about like the stakes for Billy Napier's job and all those things, think about the opportunity for Florida here. Like the branding opportunity for the Gators, I don't think it's talked about nearly enough. You're the team in the state from the SEC, which is the conference that has the most draft picks. If you brand yourself as like a true winner under Billy Napier, that thing is skyrocketing. The stock of Florida football is through the roof. People be lining up to play for Florida, is my point here. And when that happens in the state of Florida, if you're putting a fence around that thing and getting the majority of the talent in that state, you can go win national championships. So the stakes are so high because on one hand, it's, well, if you don't get it done, there's people that are going to say fire Billy Napier. But if you do get it done, the future of Florida football is extremely bright. Like there's nothing you can't accomplish if you have success in 2025 out there in Gainesville. Now, here's the thing. Going back to why the stakes are so tricky. I think it is kind of a bottom line business right now. And the big reason why it's year 4. Like if it was year 2 or year 3, you have a bunch of qualifiers attached to it. But in year 4, you're like, well, we play a tough schedule, sure. But Billy, it's the SEC. Billy, we keep going back to like the NFL draft numbers that the SEC continues to churn out. Like we don't know what next year's schedule looks like. I'm kind of paraphrasing here as to what I think they're saying, but we don't know what next year's schedule looks like. But it's going to still be tough. Now, will it be this tough? That's where I'm like, I don't think it should be playoff or fire Billy Napier. But the point remains the same. If they don't have success at the level they expect, his job is in jeopardy. If they do have success at the level they expect, win 9-10 games, well, then I think Florida and the future of what they could be, there's no ceiling on that for the reasons I already mentioned. So extremely high stakes out there in Gainesville, Florida. How about Tuscaloosa, Alabama? I think for Alabama, it's both an optics and opportunity thing for Kalen DeBoer. Because there's definitely pressure to perform on Kalen DeBoer no matter how you slice it. This is not a hot seat conversation, just for doubling down on the transparency there. There's pressure because there's so much talent on this roster. It'd be different if it was like, yeah, man, the portal just ravaged Alabama after Saban left and they could never recover. We're talking about Alabama having a top 3 defense in all of college football. Probably a lot of Crimson Tide fans that would tell you the best defense in college football in general. Like, they feel that way. So if you have that, paired with all the pieces on the offensive side of the football, which we've talked about ad nauseum, talent shouldn't and will not be the issue for Alabama. So you want to maximize talent, who does that fall on? Kalen DeBoer. Why? Falls on coaching, putting him in the right position. On top of that, it's culture. Who sets the culture? Coaching staff. Again, who's in charge of the coaching staff? Kalen DeBoer. So there's pressure in that, but the other part of the pressure is if you did have one question from a personnel perspective for Alabama, here you see where I'm going with this, it's Ty Simpson, right? Because hasn't been the guy yet at Alabama. He's going to be this upcoming season. They already announced him as the starting quarterback. I think it's been mentioned multiple times how many times Ty Simpson has doubled down on committing to Bama, committing to Kalen DeBoer. You know what maybe is getting kind of lost in the sauce here a little bit? How many times Kalen DeBoer has committed to Ty Simpson? Kalen DeBoer did not go get a transfer portal quarterback in that first window. You have spring practice. Kalen, you want a quarterback? I mean, Bama, I don't think Bama is probably in the business of nobody's in the business of tampering in college football. But if Bama wanted to tamper, Script A logo probably carries some weight. Probably could go get yourself a nice little quarterback, I have to believe. If you weren't happy with what you had in that room, Kalen DeBoer says, nope, we're good. Sticking with this room. Going with Ty Simpson. So now at multiple points, yes, Ty Simpson's committed to Kalen DeBoer, but Kalen DeBoer has doubled and tripled down on Ty Simpson being good enough to play quarterback at Alabama. So with that being the case now, the pressure's on Kalen DeBoer to elevate Ty Simpson and to be right about Ty Simpson. So that's the opportunity. The optics, though, why the stakes are high for me when you talk about the Crimson Tide, just put yourself in this state of mind for a second. Let's say that things don't go great at Alabama. Now, things don't go great at Alabama would be like how they went last year. They go win 9 football games, miss the playoff. Missing the playoff for 2 years in a row, it's like from the other guys. Hey, people are down here starting to murmur, Kalen. People are starting to think that maybe, just maybe, this isn't still the Alabama that you inherited. Maybe, just maybe, I don't know, maybe you're not cut out for all this. Maybe, just maybe, Alabama, didn't make the hire they were supposed to make when Nick Saban retired. Now, all those things, I think, just full transparency, are a bit reachy, okay? But the fact that they're narratives and murmurs, that's why it's dangerous, because it's not a thing where, like, the fan base of Alabama is going to turn on Kalen DeBoer after one more season of missing the playoff. I think you'd be unhappy. I think there's a lot of pressure then in year 3 to go make the playoff. Believe you me, that's where things get real uncomfortable. But the murmurs only have an impact on what other coaches can do when it comes to recruiting against you, because that's what's made Bama Bama over the course of the last however many years. Yes, Saban, I hear that, but why was Saban so good? He had better players just about every single Saturday, right? Why? Because they recruited as well as everyone else, better than everyone else in the college football landscape. So if you start having a conversation around the shine around that logo being a little bit dimmed, Kalen DeBoer question marks around him and what he's doing in the SEC, is a guy not even from SEC country, is he cut out for this? I'm not telling you those are valid. I'm telling you those things being said hurts recruiting momentum, something Alabama has had to this point under Kalen DeBoer. I don't question Kalen DeBoer as a recruiter. I question the ability to recruit if you have a lack of product on the field to recruit with. And that goes for anyone and everyone in college football, not specific to Kalen DeBoer. So the optics and the opportunity for Alabama, to me, is why there's massive stakes. Not because Kalen DeBoer's job is on the line this year. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what you should do this year is make the playoff and make a run in the playoff if Kalen DeBoer can maximize roster talent and elevate Ty Simpson. It's a thick plot out there, man. It's bulking season. It's a thick plot right now in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. More power to them. How about Clemson? Stakes are high for Clemson, right? Why? Because there's great roster talent, right? You kind of sense a trend here. Clemson is in that Uncle Ben tier we talk about. Ohio State's in this tier. I think Georgia's in this tier. Oregon's in this tier. The Uncle Ben tier is with great power, Peter, comes great responsibility. I'm not speaking to Peter Woods there, speaking to Peter Parker. With great talent on your roster comes great expectations. So you pair that, plus with great returning production comes even greater expectations. And then with a workable path and a workable conference comes even more great expectations than that. So it's like Peter Parker's getting an earful at this point from Uncle Ben. Same thing with Dabo Swinney. If you had to draw up a team and a situation that catered more to proving Dabo Swinney's way of doing things works, this would be the team. What I just said, number 1 returning production, year 3 quarterback, with a year 3 offensive coordinator, and Garrett Riley, they've worked together for some time now, plus you add in Tom Allen, plus you add in the fact that you play in the ACC, you don't play Miami, you don't play Pitt. Clemson fans, you roll your eyes at Pitt. Pitt scared y'all a little bit last year, and I don't know, you don't play them this year. I think they're scrappy. Like, when else is it going to align more for Clemson than a year like this for Dabo Swinney to cut just promo after promo every single week? Like, it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait, because I think Clemson's going to be good. Spoiler. I cannot wait for the Dabo Revenge Tour press conference. You know what I mean? Like he's going to cut one of those every single weekend, whether it's Holly Rowe, Molly McGrath, on the field when they meet at the Paw, and everyone's swarming around him, and they have a big win, and they punch their ticket to the ACC title game. He's going to have a whole lot of, I told you so. Y'all said we couldn't do it without the portal. Y'all said we couldn't do it the old-fashioned way and how we operate, but guess what? We're going back to the playoff for the second year in a row. We just won the ACC again. That's all that's on the line here for Dabo Swinney. The opportunity is massive, but in the same way we talk about Alabama and the optics, like, as well as it's dialed up for Clemson to go make a run in this thing, what if they fall short of expectations? It's a big what if. I'm not calling for it. I don't think it's going to happen, but just like, what if that's the case, huh? Things that get real prickly, not uncomfortable. I can't say this enough. There would be no world where Dabo Swinney's job is ever in jeopardy at Clemson. I think he is I think he is good there until they shut the school down, all right? But what I would say is, like, if you can't get it done with this roster, this schedule, the state of the ACC, I think there would be some feeling of like, okay, can we really do it this way in new college football? Are we sure like this is the way that works? Because I don't know what else you would need for Clemson to have a more ideal setup to go make a run and not just win the ACC, but like be in that Final Four of the college football playoff. Now, I do want to just throw this at you because I think you have national title expectations if you're a Clemson Tiger fan, and I hear you. I appreciate that. I think you should have national title expectations. But I'm really, really intrigued as to how we talk about teams in the regular season versus the postseason. Because Clemson, we don't know who their draw would be the first game of the college football playoff. Do you get Penn State's path where you play SMU and Boise State, or do you get Ohio State's path where you got to play Tennessee and then you got to play in Oregon? I'm speaking with those teams hypothetically, but we understand those two paths are very, very different. You would hope straight seeding gives Clemson a path that they would earn from the regular season, but I'm just saying now, if it's strictly about winning the national championship, I would say understand, fair. However, my biggest like filter for assessing success for Clemson is like, did we get to where we're supposed to get to? Which is Final Four team in my mind, win the ACC, all those things. Anything short of that, I'm like, okay, we probably like, yeah, this is an us thing, not a path thing. But regardless, high stakes for Clemson, proving that their method works, proving that Dabo's way works, and if they fall short, the conversation, not a hot seat conversation, but I think prickly, uncomfortable, and a uncomfortable look in the mirror for the folks out there in Clemson, South Carolina. One more thing on Clemson. They did go to the portal. All right? They did get a couple guys, but I digress. How about Penn State? Kind of the same thing with Clemson. Stakes are high because there's such an opportunity there. Like the epic window for Penn State is what I just said. It's epic. And there will be other windows for Penn State. Hear me loud and clear. Like this will not be the last time we talk about Penn State competing for a national championship. We have belief in this room about Penn State actually winning a national championship. Make no mistake about it. However, if Penn State doesn't get it done this year, there's going to be a feeling of like, man, like I don't even know if it's a thing of like, do we have what we need in place? I think that's a conversation we'd have in the month of January around Penn State as the dust settles on the season, because we'd have a full season to figure out like, okay, what went wrong, what went right, and all those things. It would be such an empty feeling because of the opportunity for Clemson or for Penn State, relative to the rest of the college football world. Like we keep talking about this, there's 7 teams in the AP top 10 that will start a new quarterback in 2025. Penn State is one of those 3 teams that return a starting quarterback from 2024, and Drew Aller, who you feel pretty good about in Happy Valley. So with that, plus the fact that not just the rest of college football, but the Big Ten in general, a lot of usual suspects starting new quarterbacks. Oregon and Dante Moore, Julian Saint at Ohio State, Bryce Underwood at Michigan, all the guys I'm assuming are going to start game 1 for those teams. Like if it's not this year, it would be very difficult, I think, to rally the wagons for the next upcoming season and have more optimism than what you have right now. So I would love to see Penn State get it done for the James Franklin big game narrative sake, because I think that's garbage. I think he's one of the best coaches in the sport. And I mean, if they end up having one of those one-possession games swing their way a season ago, maybe we're not even having this conversation. But the stakes are high for Penn State because this is a spot now where it is more fair than ever to predict them to win the national championship, as a one Caden Smith did on this very platform. So with that being said, Penn State, massive, massive stakes. We talked about Auburn and their fall camp intel earlier on in the show. Let's circle back on the Tigers right now. Full disclaimer, I love Auburn. They have massively high stakes. That's a fan base that has been through the ringer, I think, since Hugh Freeze has gotten there, since before Hugh Freeze got there with Brian Harsin. The roster is no longer the point of conversation, for me at least. Like, yes, you could say, well, we like to have a guy at this position and that position, more depth here. The roster, from a pure, like, stars perspective, is no longer what you are trying to have a qualifying conversation about. You're no longer talking about the vehicle. Here's the thing, man. You look borderline silly stalling out in a Ferrari. Because at that point, it's user error. It's the driver now. And that's kind of the conversation around Hugh Freeze right now, who I root for openly. This gets a lot more real for Auburn if you don't have the success you expect to have. And the success that I expect them to have is right around 8 wins, okay? So I'm not calling for them to go win 11 games and be a team that has a bye in the first round of the college football playoff, right? You can tell I'm worked up about this. The reason why we talk about this for Auburn in regards to, success they need to have in 2025 is because there is more and more factors that I think you solve for every given year that continue to point back to Hugh Freeze of like, all right, you got to be right here. You know what I'm saying? Like a year ago, if you're an Auburn fan, you're like, well, Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne was the problem. Peyton Thorne is why we did not have success. Peyton Thorne is not there. You got a 5-star guy in Jackson Arnold. Well, okay, JD, not experienced enough. A lot of young guys, a lot of talented guys, but guys that haven't played college football before. There's got to be some past there, right? Yeah, there is. Not this year. Top 25 in returning production are the Auburn Tigers. Well, but JD, it's different. We switched play callers because it was, it was Phil Montgomery, but now it's Hugh Freeze, and we're trying to get that. That's not the case anymore either. Not the case on defense in DJ Durkin's squad. Like, you have continuity on the staff. So you see where I'm going with this. The more boxes you check, or you tell me are checked in the preseason, the more I point to Hugh Freeze and say, all right, baby, let's go win now. We're not having a qualifying conversation here this time next year. The thing with Auburn, speaking to the roster too, like, you don't have to squint to see them being a team that actually does have a special season. Like, Auburn's offense is Swiss miss. You know what I'm saying? Like, just add water. Just add water. That's all you need. Just add 5-star Jackson Arnold at a 5-star Jackson Arnold like caliber profile. Auburn has no other question marks. Would you like the running back room to be a little bit better? Sure. But we're having 10% conversations now, 10% difference conversations now. Receivers are ridiculous. Offensive line is great. Hugh Freeze is, I think, a great offensive mind, contrary to maybe the narrative out there on the social media world. If Jackson Arnold doesn't crash this car, doesn't turn the ball over, Auburn's going to be not just like fine. They're going to be really good. Be very, very good. So on the flip side of that, speaking of the stakes, that's the upside. The downside is Auburn has been recruiting so well for so long over the course, I say for so long, really since Hugh Freeze has gotten there. They've recruited at a high level if you go check what they've done on National Signing Day. I know there's some panic and some strife right now. Let's talk in December. There's been, I think, like some magic pixie dust they've been able to sprinkle a little bit because you've been able to pitch like, hey, this is where we're going. Hey, we're going to have you play early. Hey, like this is the vision for Auburn. At a certain point, if you don't have success this year, I'm talking like you don't win 8 games this year, I worry about that pixie dust running out just a little bit. And when that runs out, you're stuck with the roster you have, or you're going to the portal and trying to, let's call a spade here, try to go buy some talent, which you still could do. But I would love to see Auburn go win 8 games, go win 9, 10 games. And if you were recruiting how you're recruiting when you miss a bowl game, flirting with the top 10, in the top 10, like what can you do when you go win that many games? How high is Auburn finishing at that point in time? So massive stakes for Auburn. Thing could swing either way very, very quickly, but you're not talking about roster talent anymore. You're talking about execution. You're talking about Saturday stuff, I think is the best way to put it. Not talking about where we're recruiting. You're talking about, okay, how do we execute on that Saturday? Because we got the players. Last team to talk about here, how about the Michigan Wolverines? We also gave you some intel on them earlier on in the show. The stakes are high for them in year 2 of the Sharon Moore regime because you only get to make a first impression once with like what new Michigan is going to be. Last year was kind of a carryover of sorts. You know, a lot of Jim Harbaugh guys, a lot of Jim Harbaugh's way of doing things, which I think Sharon Moore is still going to keep in place. But new quarterback in Bryce Underwood. If you're a Michigan fan, you're freaking pumped about Bryce Underwood. And you should be. New offense and Chip Lindsey. Spread it out a little bit more. We're not having Bryce Underwood under center running Spider 34Y banana, which is all well and good. Also, just how they acquire talent. Like we talk about Larry Ellison and the Dave Portnoy, tangential involvement. They're playing ball at a high level when it comes to acquiring talent on the NIL front. More power to them. So if you have success this year and it looks good, and the first look at new Michigan football is like, hey, I want to go be a part of that. Hey, they won 10 games, made the college football playoff. Like you show some flashes. That advertisement is going to be elite. Because the product, what I just spoke to, is Bryce Underwood balling as a freshman. That's the product you're advertising. But the pitch of we need more weapons, hey, we need more pieces to go surround ourselves with this freak show, generational, all the cliche, maybe hyperbolic things you can label Bryce Underwood. If you have that to add to him, okay, now we're cooking. Now we're real deal cooking. So if it doesn't work on the flip side of that, if the first impression goes a little bit sour, it's not done. right? Just because you have a bad first date doesn't mean you're not still going to end up at the altar at some point in time. But if it's a bad first impression for new Michigan, as I go ahead and coin it right now, to the offense, to the quarterback, all that. Same discussion we had around Alabama and the buzz and the murmurs and the headlines as to doubting Kalen DeBoer. It's just so predictable with what you would see there with a Michigan and a Jim Harbaugh Sherrone Moore discussion, because people will start to say, yeah, Sherrone Moore, he won. Yeah, he's 2-0 against Ohio State. It's all well and good, but with Jim Harbaugh's guys, with Jim Harbaugh's way of doing things, headline doesn't matter. Headline does not matter. I happen to believe that the culture internally in Ann Arbor is too strong for that to be something that has any real basis to separate that locker room or separate that building. But again, recruiting momentum, that's what it would impact. That's what coaches will be able to pitch against Sherrone Moore and that staff on the recruiting trail. So the stakes, I think, are even higher, too, because of what you have on the schedule. If I'm a Michigan fan, I'm looking at this whole setup. I'm like, we can actually do this. The path is very obvious. If you get past Washington with 2 losses or less in the month of October, before you play Ohio State, you play a team in Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, and Maryland that all did not play for a bowl game a year ago. Now, they could be better. People can change. But I would love that ramp up if I'm Michigan. That, to me, just screams get past Washington with 2 losses. You're playing Ohio State with a trip to the college football playoff on the line. Now, if you get past it with less, then more power to you. You could, I won't even say it. I won't talk about losing the Ohio State game for you during a Michigan segment, but you could, in theory, have a second loss somewhere along the way, still be a playoff team at 10-2. So, playoff year 1 with Bryce Underwood, think about what that would mean. What I just said, 1, you could easily see Michigan finish in the top 5 of the recruiting rankings at the end of the year. I think there's that much juice, that much momentum, that much excitement, that much resource power to where Michigan finishing in that range, completely on the table. Completely on the table. Second thing I would say is in the context of 2025, you get to the playoff with Bryce Underwood having 12, dare I say 13 if they make the Big Ten title game under his belt, that many games, that many starts. We've seen confident Michigan before. Saw him against Ohio State, saw him post-Ohio State beat Alabama. Confident Michigan's dangerous Michigan, especially with what they're working with internally, again, with all the unquantifiables they seem to major in. Because it wasn't the talent that beat Ohio State. Contrary to how you feel about Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and all those guys, great players, elite players. But Ohio State had more talent on that day. Michigan just majored in and won in all the other stuff. All the other stuff running hot into the college football playoff with a freshman quarterback that you would hope has his swagger at that point in time. I would not want to see that brand of Michigan the first round of the playoff or whatever round I saw them. So at that point, it's very, very real as to what Michigan could accomplish in 2025. All right, man, I'm really excited for this next segment because it's something we've kind of workshopped a little bit over the course of the last week or so. If you've watched this show throughout the offseason, 1, freaking love you. Okay, 2, we've been working with the hard count voicemail box a little bit. If you haven't called in yet, 629-888-3931. Give us a call there. Leave us a college football take. Leave us whatever you want to leave us there when it comes to just how you're feeling about the season. But as of recent, made this call to action. Hit us with your off-the-field problems. You know what I'm saying? The best coaches that I ever had say, you know what, we care about the player. We care more about the person. That's us on this show. We care about the listener. We care just as much about the person. All right, so we're going to do that right now. Get to a couple of your voicemails that are maybe tangentially college football related, but just some off-the-field stuff you're working with right now as it pertains to where you're at in the context of heading into the college football season. Start off with a banger here from one of you that is potentially making a financial decision to get to LSU Clemson. That game week 1 going to be a banger. We'll watch it on television. We won't be there in person, but you want to be there in person. Asked us maybe what you should do relative to getting to that game. Go ahead and take a listen.
All right, JD, you said keep this between 30. My name is Richie Vaughn. I'm a huge Georgia fan, diehard. I'm from Elberton, Georgia. It's about 45 from Athens, an hour from Clemson. Clemson's playing LSU week 1. How can I find the money to go to that game when I don't get paid into the third? My check around the third is going to be about $2,000, so I'm going to have a little bit of extra money. Do I request a small bank loan so I can go to LSU versus Clemson at night in Death Valley to see this game? See or no?
See or no? How about the deep cut there? A see or no from Poppy and Lebitard. If you didn't get that deep cut, don't worry about it. Actually, maybe do worry about it. Maybe go ahead and YouTube that. So first of all, nice little flex there on the fact that we got some cheddar coming in. Nice little $2,000. So shout out to you. But you want to go to this game prior to getting your paycheck. I hear you. I love that. Here's what I will say. If you're calling into this show and you're watching this show, you're a college football sicko. That's a fun thing to say in branding. It's a fun thing to throw out there. But on a much more real level, sickos do sicko things. So I'm not here to give financial advice. I'm not here to tell you where and how you should try to acquire that money. Another opportunity, though, to try and acquire that money. Venmo has been in the news over the course of the last 48 hours, and we appreciate that. Maybe some random Venmo requests. I'm talking about typing in random names. I'm talking about request $1 from, give or take, like 400 people. If you get half of those to say, yes, I don't know exactly where you're trying to sit in the stadium, $200 maybe gets you in the door, we think. Maybe, maybe not. 500 people. Request 500 people $1 or 400 people $2, and maybe you get yourself in that range. One more thing I will say, though, in terms of us trying to put our heads together to get you to this game, Rich. Week 0, if you wanted to put together a nice little parlay, it's a risky move. Again, I'm not giving betting advice. I'm not giving financial advice. But if you wanted to do it this way, there's a number of games. You put them all together, bet money line on like 3 or 4 of those, and the right dollar figure, wagered on maybe 3 or 4, Tarleton State probably, Kansas State, Iowa State, Stanford, Hawaii, missing any others. That's probably a good mix, right? Like you go with that run of games, pick the winners you want from those games. Maybe that parlay hits, and maybe it gets you to LSU Clemson week 1. I can't in good faith say go take out a loan. I will just say sickos do sicko things. And we're rooting for you. We're rooting for you. Follow up, too, if you got to the game and how that whole thing worked out, if you did take out a loan or if you didn't. But regardless, we're pulling for you, Richie. Pulling for you, brother. Great voicemail. Next up, we love our families on this show. You do, too. One of you is calling in about how you do love your family. But, however, when it comes to taking them to a game, it's just you're not sure if it's best for the overall team and their success for a specific game for the Florida Gators this year. Go ahead and take a listen to this one.
Hey, JD. Huge UF fan here. I want to go to the Florida-Texas game on October 4th, the day after my birthday, with my brother. Here's the deal, though. I have a huge superstition that he's bad luck for the Florida Gators. In 2008, the only game he went to in 2008 was the Florida-Ole Miss game when they were supposed to have a perfect season. You know, the promise speech after the game by Tebow. And he also went to the Florida-Arkansas game in 2023 when we were supposed to beat them. And they ended up losing in overtime. I was there with him at that game. So I really want to go with him, but at the same time, I don't want to go with him. I think I should just take my friend. But, you know, he's my brother, so I'm not really sure what to do. So what do you think I should do?
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. Like I don't envy your position, first of all. Second of all, thank you for bringing it here to the show for us to unpack together. I am probably the wrong person to give advice on this because I've said before, I am like just not superstitious in the slightest. I pet black cats. I break mirrors. I don't know what you do with salt, but whatever you're supposed to do with that, throwing it over your shoulder, I don't do that. I throw it forward. Like I'm not superstitious in the slightest. However, I understand now if it works and it's been working and there's a proven track record of something not working, then it's like I don't know if I want to tinker with what we got going here. Here's what I'll say, though. Imagine Florida and Texas, they're playing, right? It's fourth quarter. DJ Lagway, hoping and praying he's healthy. It's overtime. You just got to stop. Florida scores, they win the game. Going back to play. DJ Lagway drops back, delivers a laser. Aiden Mizell over the middle. Ball game. Gators win. You look to your left. Oh, yeah, your brother's not there. He's at home. Maybe you say, hey, bro, thanks for taking one for the team. Thanks for getting us this win. I think how I'd feel is like, man, I wish I could give my brother just the biggest bro dap, bear hug, squeeze the life out of him and celebrate and soak in this win together. Because I will say this, I do think it makes it that much sweeter if they beat Texas and your brother's there and he has the chance to have like the Andy Dufresne moment where he gets out of prison and the rain hits his face. You break the curse of your brother being there and Florida losing. That would be, I think, a milestone moment, a eulogy moment, if you will. Whenever there's a moment where someone shares at the funeral, hey, this guy was great. I remember vividly when Florida knocked off Texas and we were together and it all went down in the swamp. So I'll leave that with you. I would say take him. I would say take him. Family is, as Brian Kelly knows, very, very important, and would love to see that be something you guys can celebrate together if Florida pulls it off. Now, if they lose, we never had this conversation. Voicemail 3 is a good one for you, folks. College football is a passionate sport, passionate people. Passionate people sometimes use strong language, so we got a couple of bleeps coming your way. But my man doing some self-reflecting about a specific decision he made relative to a wedding and a college football game. We've all been there. Take a listen.
Hey, JD, this is Zach. I'm calling in from Colorado. I got to know, when Oregon and Colorado played each other a few years ago, extremely hyped up, was I f***ed up for missing out on the wedding my ex needed me to go to as a +1? Like, come on, man. That game had so much hype behind it. Plus, being an Oregon fan, we killed Colorado. I need to know if I was up to that or not.
So, Cato, it sounded like he was speaking to an ex. That's what the transcription said. Am I making that up? Or is that, okay, we think we're going to go ahead and move forward in this conversation, trusting the transcription and saying this is an ex that you were speaking to relative to the +1. We got to have this off rip. It should be more than okay to refuse to go to a wedding as a +1. Like, I understand if you're in the wedding, that's tough. You kind of have to make a business decision there. Your brother's getting married. What are you going to do? Not be in the wedding on a college football Saturday? It's tough. I might have some resentment for my brother, but like it is what it is, dude. You got to show up there. With that being said, if you are a +1 to a wedding, you're not even technically invited. Like, you're just invited because the person they actually care about, i.e. your girlfriend in this situation, your ex-girlfriend in this situation, is who they want there, and they know that they will be happier with you there. So I think saying no on a college football Saturday, when you're not even actually on the list, you're, quote, a +1, like, give me a break. If that bothers you, you got to grow some thicker skin, some better feelings. That is, I think, ridiculous. +1s should be more than fine saying no during college football season, really just in general to being at a wedding, but especially during college football season. That's the first part of this. So that answers your question from the jump. You're a +1. I think you're free to go. Second thought, though, here. Reason why we gave the qualifier before that around, well, my ex-girlfriend, when I read on that transcription, ex, I'm like, hey, man, one, I'm sorry for however things didn't work out, all right? Breakups are no fun. But I will say this. She's not there anymore. Look who still is. Your podcast's working fine. YouTube's working fine. Didn't freeze. Look who's still there. College football. She might be there again tomorrow and gone the next day, but college football is still with you. So when it comes to loyalty, whether you broke it off or she broke it off, college football never left you. So all that's to say, paraphrasing the way that you phrased it, I don't think you're fudged up for your decision there, and we stand with you on that one. So again, appreciate y'all calling in, 629-888-3931. Yes, bring the college football takes on for sure, but we care about the listener and the person, the player and the person on this show. So leave us a voicemail there, and we'll have some fun talking about what y'all got going on off the field. I just dropped the final note of our last show of the 2025 offseason. We made it, baby. Hey, clap it up. Everybody, right now in the car, wherever you're at, clap it up. You made it through the college football offseason. 206 days since Ohio State beat Notre Dame for the national championship. We're about to spot the ball again in week 0 in Dublin, Ireland, of all places. I cannot wait. I know you cannot wait. Cato can't wait. It's going to be a blast, man. So, for two-time All Sunbelt safety on the 1s and 2s, Caden Smith, myself, JD PicKell, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Congratulations. The party rolls on. The party really gets popping right now. We will see y'all